Hi, my name is Akela Grant, and I will be talking. The life policy I want to change is the term limits for the governor. So right now, I don't know who our governor is actually not the point, besides the point. I believe that the governors have term limit because of Henry McMaster. Henry McMaster has been in office for over 40 years. And it may not be consecutive terms, but 40 years period. That is entirely too long. He is well past his prime, and he is entirely too old to be making decisions on a progressing Congress. Along with that, the term limit right now is set. You can only serve 2 years for one term, and then you can't do terms back to back. So you can go 2 years, your first term, someone else will win the election, and then after that term, you can rerun for the governor, right? But there's no limit of how many times you can become governor. And there's no age restriction, there's no health restrictions, there's nothing else in place to stop you from becoming governor again. I know one of my sources, Mr. Joe Cunningham, he ran last year for governor. I know some of y'all may have heard about him if you're into politics like that. He was running for the legalization of marijuana and to fix the South Carolina roads and like to change where the taxes are going, right? He also brought up term limits because he brought up the fact that Joe Cunningham has not Joe Cunningham, Henry McMaster has been in office way longer than he has even been alive. Henry McMaster can't, he doesn't know most things technology wise. So why should he still be controlling our government, controlling what we do? And I was looking at one of the code of laws, and just reading it, it just doesn't really make any sense to the economy and the community that we have now. It doesn't really add up to what's progressing, what's changing around us. We are still in the past. He's still using his old ways to run the South Carolina government, which is why we're so low in education, which is why we're so low in roads. Like everything, South Carolina is towards the bottom, where we could be higher up if we had a more, how do I say it, a more present governor. But the governors tend to use the term limits as like a way to keep themselves in office. They don't know when it's their time to give up. They make a career out of being governor, which you cannot do. You have to know when your prime is. You have to know when it's time for you to stop, so you don't waste everybody's time and continue to be the governor. Another thing that I feel like is important to add about the term limits is there are people like us that could vote on things like this, but we don't vote on things like this simply because we don't know anything about it. I didn't know anything about the term limits till I just started reading about it for this assignment. And that's not good, but it's the sad truth. Most young people don't know what the term limits are. They don't know how to change them. They don't know who to talk to. For changing the term limits, you have to bring it up to the state clerk. So once you bring it up to the clerk, she goes through the steps to change the law and like set in the term limits. I believe that you should only be able to serve 5 terms, which would be 10 years in total, which I feel like is a good amount for someone to be in their prime. Past 10 years, you have nothing else to offer us because at that point you're well past your prime. Because 10 years serving as governor is basically 20 years because you can't do consecutive terms. It wouldn't be like 12 or something. It's 20 complete years because you can't serve consecutive terms. So I believe that the limit for terms should be 10, not 10, 5. And then what else? I believe there should be an age limit. After you're over 50, I don't believe you should be controlling what goes on in our state because there's so much going on out here that the older people don't even understand. They can't begin to comprehend simply because they are still stuck in the ways of when they were younger. They are running this government like it's still back in the day, which is not the case at all. With all the like progressing that the world is doing, we cannot continue to run the government like it's still the 60s or like it's still the 70s or the 80s. Like Eric and Natalie, like literally everybody was saying, we are still stuck on past ways. Marijuana is still not legalized. We still have things going on in the judicial system that just doesn't make any sense. That's based off of old habits that should be changed going forward. And these older people are not going to change that because they're like, oh, this is how it was, this worked for us, but they're not realizing the overcrowding, the just like the way that people are, the way they come out of jails. Me personally, I have family members who were in the prison system for a long time, and now that they're out, they cannot correctly adjust to the way of the world simply because, like Eric was saying, it's just not beneficial to the people inside the prison. They are not setting them up to be successful once they leave the prison systems. And even like with juvie and stuff. So I feel like the the um, the term should change due to the governors. And I am done now, and we can go into our discussion.
I wanted to ask you, so you were talking specifically about the state governor. Do you think those term limits they should apply? I mean, should that be something that's across the board in your opinion, like also senators, congressmen, all the way up to the president himself? Because I mean, are we talking like across the board for all politicians?
I would like to speak across the board, but specifically for this project, I just went strictly with governor. But yes, I do believe that the president should have an age limit. Biden being an example, that man is old, bless his heart, but he is old. So he does not need to be governing a whole country. I feel like, let me not get too much into politics. On to the next, I feel like with the senators and the congressmen, they also should have term limits. There should be an age limit. You cannot just make a career out of this because it's not something you make a career out of. This is something that you do while you're good at for the better of the people. This is not for you to make your name. This is for the better of the people. If that answers your question.
Yeah.
So you mentioned like talking to young people because like a lot of young people that are like new to voting and stuff like don't know about this. Do you like have any like thoughts on how that could be put into place so that way people are more educated about what they're voting for and people actually vote?
I'm currently the president of NAACP, so this is kind of what like I want to focus what we're doing in NAACP on right now because I know on campus, even though we are right next to the state house, we don't know a lot of what's going on. And like I feel like we should have a little size your little post around the school, little fun events that educate you on what's going on. Because if I'm going to be completely honest, prior to me being in college, I did not care about politics. Politics was not something that I wanted to know about. I was like, the older people can handle it. This is not my problem yet. I'm not going to deal with this. And I know that's how a lot of older people, how a lot of younger people think. They don't want to know about politics because they see it as boring. So I feel like we should try to make it fun and like educational at the same time.
Awesome.
So any other questions?
I was just thinking about, and it's okay if you don't know the answer because I don't really have an answer either, but do you think there should be a lower age limit on things like that too? Like say, like, you know, probably younger people maybe haven't experienced enough, haven't maybe aren't mature enough to hold that kind of office?
I believe that young people should be able to run in these positions because when you're young, you have the most drive, the most want to change things. You will do whatever you can in your power to make these changes that you feel like should be changed. And I know just talking to some of the political majors here, they are very serious about what they feel. They don't look at just the like what's going on in the government right now. They look at what could happen in the future, what has happened in the past, what can we do to change this. They're just more progressive in the things that they do, which is why I believe that younger people should be more involved in it. And I believe that they should run for office because it just makes the most sense because you're younger, you know what's going on, you're more in the loop, not like anything under 21 though.
So you think a 21-year-old should be able to be president of the United States?
Not president, no.
Okay.
Like more of state roles,
Okay.
like congressman. But you have to be like, once you graduate college, let's just say people with a college degree should be able to be in this office to make the changes, like at least have some type of background in this area if you're going to make something out of it. That makes sense. That answered your question. Any other questions? I don't know if we're at 5 minutes. I'm gonna call this 5 minutes.
Good job. Good job. I mean, you were passionate about the subject. That was the strength that I saw was, I could tell how passionate you were and enthusiastic about it, which translated in the camera.
Thank you, thank you.
I got a question. Do you think that there should be like a class that's like taught about, like everything, like not just like, how like it's like how we'll like learn about it a little bit in like our the history classes, but like not really like an actual class, just like teaching us about politics and like how to like run things, just like stuff like that.
I do believe that no matter what major you are, there should be a class taught about politics simply because we have to vote. Like, we don't have to vote, it's our right to vote. We should know what we're voting for. We should know present things. And I believe once these classes are made, the teachers should be non-biased. They should teach both left side and right side of all politics, even in the middle, the blurry areas, the gray areas. Because there's so many things I don't know about politics that I feel like should be taught. And like, you have to go, yes, you can go and look these things up, but like most people are not going to do that. I learn more from TikTok about politics than I do in like actual everyday life. So it's just, I believe that there should be a class for it just to teach us more. And it shouldn't be like one of those boring classes like the lecture where the teacher's just talking all class, nobody's listening, you're scrolling through TikTok, you're shopping online, because that's what I do in class, not gonna lie. But I feel like it should be like an engaging class, like a class that actually means more. So, yeah, if that answered your question. Okay. Any other questions? I feel like that was everybody, so that should be enough time. Okay, thank y'all for listening to my live discussion, and then we'll join.